PR agent who will be part of this lawsuit. That was Blake Lively's. Blake Lively will be sued, and we're carefully considering other people that will be sued also. Ryan Reynolds, for sure.
The latest chapter in the feud between It Ends With Us co-stars Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively.
So Baldoni is now suing the actress, her husband Ryan Reynolds, and others as well, for what he says is a smear campaign to ruin his name and his career.
Do you think Blake fell in love with Justin? I think that she felt scorned by him in some way, whether he didn't like her creative suggestions. But what I do know and what I really feel firmly and strongly about is that Justin is a good guy. I think that his intentions were good. And I think that I don't believe that he acted inappropriately. Blake really felt like she was being asked. Some of her behavior didn't really add up to that with how comfortable she felt with Justin and the way that she spoke to him. That's not to say that you have to behave like the perfect victim if you are victimized, if you're hurt, but it strains credulity, as we always say.
Are you going to sue Blake Lively too?
Into oblivion, Megan. Wait till you see this lawsuit. It's all going to be based on evidence. It's not going to be just a lawsuit. It's going to be the kind of lawsuit that is full of evidence, admissions, documents, which prove exactly what she did and how she bullied her way through the process to take over the movie.
A sinister PR move. Blake Lively then moved 11 days later to file a lawsuit. So now she has filed a lawsuit. And I don't think she ever wanted to do this. I think she genuinely wanted this to be a PR move, and she wanted to leak it to the New York Times. She thought the public would take her side with no questions asked. And instead the public is saying, no, we have a few questions here. And Justin Baldoni is going.
Lev's case just hit a turning point, and not in her favor. Her attorney, the very person meant to defend her, walked away without warning, leaving the courtroom buzzing with questions. The announcement wasn't a quiet exit either. The lawyer's departure was fueled by reasons that caught nearly everyone off guard. This sudden fracture in her defense raises troubling doubts about the strength of her strategy. With fresh revelations surfacing in her legal battle against Justin Baldoni, what once looked like a straightforward fight now appears tangled, unpredictable, and far more dramatic than expected. The mystery of what unfolded privately is fueling even more speculation about where this case could possibly head next. Clip 2. Lev's case just hit a turning point, and not in her favor. Her attorney, the very person meant to defend her, walked away without warning, leaving the courtroom buzzing with questions. The announcement wasn't a quiet exit either. The lawyer's departure was fueled by reasons that caught nearly everyone off guard. This sudden fracture in her defense raises troubling doubts about the strength of her strategy. With fresh revelations surfacing in her legal battle against Justin Baldoni, what once looked like a straightforward fight now appears tangled, unpredictable, and far more dramatic than expected. The mystery of what unfolded privately is fueling even more speculation about where this case could possibly head next.
Lively. We weren't allowed to talk to her on the set. We weren't allowed to ask for an autograph. We were, instructed, this way or that. We were treated like.
The film It Ends With Us, led by Justin Baldoni as both director and co-writer, was marketed as a heartfelt and inspiring story. Yet, off-camera, the set reportedly unraveled into chaos. Arguments over leaked text messages, counterclaims from both sides, and whispers of hidden agendas began to overshadow the production itself. The real bombshell came when Blake Lively's own lawyer abruptly cut ties with her. But this wasn't an ordinary resignation. Instead of leaving quietly, the attorney laid out a damning explanation, accusing Blake of going to extreme lengths to undermine Justin. Once evidence began to emerge, the entertainment world was stunned. In Hollywood, it's almost unheard of for a high-profile lawyer to step away so publicly, especially while suggesting ethical red flags. For someone like Blake, who built her career on charisma, relatability, and a picture-perfect public image, the shift was jarring. Suddenly, her carefully maintained persona appeared to be collapsing under the weight of scandal. What was supposed to be a celebratory adaptation of a beloved novel has instead spiraled into one of the industry's most shocking controversies in recent memory.
He was a genuinely bad guy. We'd be hearing from all the women coming out of the woodwork who'd experienced him being creepy in the past, right? Like, why has no one else come forward? Right. Just feels kind of very weighted on the side of everyone has known that Blake Lively and Ryan.
And how she bullied her way through the process to take over the movie and used her PR people to try and destroy Justin. There's a number of different
This text from Blake Lively is insane. If you knew me in person longer, you'd have a sense of how flirty and yummy the ball busting would play. It's my love language, spicy and playfully bold, never with teeth. What?
It's a crazy text.
What are you?
Justin Baldoni entered It Ends With Us with lofty ambitions, aiming to deliver a film that would leave audiences deeply moved. When Blake Lively signed on, excitement skyrocketed. Her star power promised to elevate the project and draw widespread attention. On the surface, the collaboration seemed like a perfect match. Justin was respected for his heartfelt storytelling, while Blake was adored for her elegance and glamorous public appeal. Yet behind the curtain, cracks quickly appeared. Reports surfaced that Blake felt sidelined by Justin's heavy involvement. He wasn't just directing and co-writing, but also starring, a level of influence that left her in the shadows. Rumors suggested she grew increasingly frustrated, especially with how the media narrative appeared to highlight Justin's vision while downplaying her own role. Whispers of discontent soon spilled into tabloids, fueling speculation of growing discord. Even fans began to notice. In interviews, Blake often seemed guarded, at times avoiding direct discussion of Justin's creative control, small but telling signs that their partnership was far from harmonious. What looked like a promising collaboration in public was, in reality, unraveling behind the scenes.
Is you don't make fun of Justin Baldoni. You don't make fun.
Tell me what it was like also collaborating with Blake in this.
Oh, she's a creative force. She's a genius. She was involved in every aspect of this production, and everything she touched, she made better.
And you worked really hard on that, and the way you...
Justin Baldoni stepped into It Ends With Us with sky-high aspirations, determined to craft a film that would resonate on a deeply emotional level. The moment Blake Lively agreed to join the cast, anticipation surged. Her star presence seemed like the missing piece that could guarantee critical buzz and commercial success. At first glance, the partnership felt ideal. Justin had built a reputation as a thoughtful storyteller, while Blake embodied Hollywood glamour with a relatable edge that audiences admired. But beneath the polished press releases and red carpet smiles, trouble was already brewing. Insiders claimed Blake grew uneasy with Justin's sweeping control. He wasn't just directing and co-writing, he was also set to appear on screen, making his influence impossible to ignore. Sources suggested Blake felt overshadowed, as though her role was shrinking in a project that should have been a defining showcase. The media only added fuel, often framing the film as Justin's vision, while placing Blake's contributions in the background. As tensions rose, rumors of friction began circulating through entertainment outlets. Tabloids hinted at behind-the-scenes disputes, and sharp-eyed fans picked up on subtler signals. During promotional moments, Blake's tone shifted. She sometimes sidestepped questions about Justin's involvement, or offered carefully clipped answers that felt less than genuine. These small cracks hinted at something larger. What had once looked like a dream collaboration between two powerhouse names was quietly unraveling, with signs of strain becoming harder to ignore.
Did not even read the book that the movie was based on.
Correct.
And we're not talking War and Peace. And then she wanted to, ixnayed all of the wardrobe choices, because when you're making a movie about a poor woman who's suffering from domestic violence, you want her to look like she has money.
Right.
That Blake said.
That's what she did.
She looks like she has money.
Yep.
And she's dressing in florals. And then she's going on this press tour, pushing her liquor line and her hair care line, because that's what women who are trying to escape with their lives are worried about.
That's what generated her negative press and led to a series of clips of her being insensitive in one way, shape, or form with other interviewers in the past. She has no one to blame but herself for that.
The press tour is part of that pay package.
Right.
You have to show up with a smile on your face and be polite to people who are not lobbing, difficult questions at you.
As the weeks went on, the feud between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni became more tangled than anyone expected. What started as whispers of creative tension quickly transformed into a swirl of leaked evidence and conflicting claims. Screenshots of private text messages, allegedly shared by people close to Justin, began making the rounds online. And the picture they painted was far more complex than the simple story of a star feeling overshadowed. The messages suggested Blake wasn't just a passive participant but was pushing for major influence behind the scenes. In multiple exchanges, she reportedly invoked her network of powerful allies, including her husband, Ryan Reynolds, whom she dramatically referred to as her dragons. She hinted that if her perspective wasn't prioritized, those connections could be used to shape everything from editing decisions to marketing campaigns. Even the way the press covered the film, insiders claimed this wasn't the only source of tension. Rumors spread that Blake demanded script revisions, wanted veto power over certain creative calls, and even weighed in on how her co-stars should be presented during interviews and promotional tours. Producers described receiving sharply worded messages warning she might pull back from publicity obligations if her voice wasn't taken seriously. The conflict reached a breaking point when Blake filed an official legal complaint against the production. In it, she claimed the environment on set was deeply uncomfortable. She pointed to a lack of clear protocols for intimate scenes and alleged that Justin himself made disparaging comments about her body after childbirth, an accusation that, if proven true, could seriously damage his reputation. To support her case, Blake's legal team released what they called evidence, a set of text messages curated to highlight her discomfort and Justin's alleged disregard. But observers quickly noted red flags. Emojis had been stripped out, conversations appeared spliced together, and certain statements seemed rearranged in ways that cast Justin in the harshest possible light. While the release grabbed headlines, critics argued the selective editing made the truth harder to pin down. What was meant to strengthen her legal position instead sparked even more debate,
to kind of look into
leaving both
the strengths
sides
and
under
weaknesses
intense
of the
public
cases.
scrutiny.
What can you tell from these complaints? These are both sides' story, but they haven't yet really seen a court of law.
Yeah, I think we have to put aside all of the finger pointing and the PR bluster and actually look at what makes a legal claim. And a defamation claim, as you know, is very easy to bring and not that easy to win. We have seen them fail before. The legal standard is higher for public figures, celebrities. You have to show actual malice, that she went about this with a deliberate effort to destroy his career, which is something he alleges. But if this actually went to trial, it wouldn't be enough to just say Taylor Swift didn't like my rewrite of the actual balcony scene, right? He has to show he suffered real harm to his career and reputation.
To that end there, Laura, do you think this is something that ever sees the inside of a court of law?
I think it depends on their appetite to have all of their dirty laundry actually aired out. When you bring a civil lawsuit like this, you get discovery, which means people take depositions. They're under oath. They're usually videotaped.
Both sides do.
Both sides.
It all comes out.
Exactly, because she sued and now he has countersued. We all remember the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case, how ugly that was, everything that came out. That's what we're talking about.
Justin Baldoni's team didn't stay silent for long. They struck back with what they called the complete, unedited collection of text messages, a chronological record meant to counter Blake's allegations point by point. One exchange quickly became the focus of intense scrutiny. Blake had claimed that Justin entered her trailer without warning while she was in a vulnerable state, an allegation that had sparked outrage online. Yet the unedited messages told a very different story. They suggested she had actually invited him inside and even joked about the timing in her texts. The revelation left fans and industry insiders alike astonished, raising new questions about how carefully curated the earlier evidence had been. The contrast between the two sides' narratives highlighted just how murky the truth had become, turning what seemed like a straightforward dispute into a full-blown public battle of perspectives.
Life is, you don't make fun of Justin Baldoni. You don't make fun of the situation. You take it very seriously. You file HR complaints. You raise the issue. And you follow a legal process. What you don't do is mock the person and turn it into a joke.
Then came another bombshell. Blake's longtime attorney, a highly respected figure known for managing Hollywood's most sensitive, high-stakes cases, abruptly withdrew from representing her. The departure alone was shocking, but the circumstances made it explosive. Rather than quietly stepping aside, the lawyer publicly expressed serious doubts about the credibility of Blake's claims. In a rare move for the industry, a top-tier attorney openly questioned the integrity of a high-profile client's case, sending shockwaves through both Hollywood and the legal community. This unprecedented public break not only undermined Blake's defense but also added a new layer of intrigue to an already sensational story, leaving everyone watching to wonder how much damage this sudden turn could inflict on her reputation and legal standing.
Texts, putting things like, he watched me breastfeed my trailer in context when we saw text from her saying, I'm breastfeeding in my trailer, come on over. And they've gone tit for tat in the, nice pun right after the breastfeeding,
Industry observers quickly began piecing together why Blake's attorney had made such an unprecedented move. After reviewing the complete set of texts and listening to multiple witness statements, the lawyer reportedly noticed a troubling disconnect between Blake's public claims and the emerging facts. In an official statement, the attorney carefully avoided direct accusations, but the subtext was unmistakable. They could no longer ethically support her version of events. Behind closed doors, sources say the lawyer confided to trusted reporters that the full evidence suggested Blake might have exaggerated or even selectively framed certain incidents on set, seemingly to paint Justin in a negative light. This quiet revelation added yet another layer of complexity, leaving the industry and the public questioning how much of the controversy reflected reality, and how much was carefully curated for strategic effect.
Sinister PR move. Blake Lively then moved 11 days later to file a lawsuit. So now she has filed a lawsuit. And I don't think she ever wanted to do this. I think she genuinely wanted this to be a PR move, and she wanted to leak it to the New York Times. She thought the public would take her side with no questions asked. And instead, the public is saying, no, we have a few questions here. And Justin Baldoni is going all the way to the wall on this. His lawyer is already giving interviews explaining just how nasty her team has played this. The lawyer's name is Brian Friedman. He stopped by the Megyn Kelly show. And here's some of the things that he had to say. First, he says there used to never be a claim. There never was a claim until she went to that civil rights office. Take a listen.
There was actually no allegation of harassment until
the attorney's dramatic withdrawal came at a time when media scrutiny was intensifying, fueled by leaked messages that painted a far more nuanced picture. These texts seemed to indicate that Blake might have amplified or even selectively reframed routine production disputes to support the story she wanted the public to see. As the press coverage grew, it became increasingly clear that the narrative presented on social media and in initial statements may have been carefully shaped, rather than reflecting the full reality behind the scenes.
To Blake Lively too?
Into oblivion, Megyn. Wait till you see this lawsuit. It's all going to be based on evidence. It's not going to be just a lawsuit. It's going to be the kind of lawsuit that is full of evidence, admissions, documents, which prove exactly what she did and how she bullied her way through the process to take over the movie and used her PR people to try and destroy Justin. There's a number of different defendants here. Stephanie Jones will be all over this complaint. That is the PR agent who was supposed to be working for Justin Baldoni. Leslie Sloan, who's another PR agent who will be part of this lawsuit. That was Blake Lively's. Blake Lively will be sued, and we're carefully considering other people that will be sued also. Ryan Reynolds.
A revelation from Blake's former attorney sent shockwaves through both the media and public discourse. Opinions immediately split. Some continued to see her as a victim caught in a difficult and manipulative situation, while others grew skeptical, suspecting she may have selectively presented or exaggerated certain events. The attorney's sudden departure cast a long shadow over her credibility, prompting many observers to wonder just how much of her story could be fully trusted and how much had been shaped to fit a particular narrative.
Blake Lively is insane. If you knew me in person longer, you'd have a sense of how flirty and yummy the ball busting would play. It's my love language, spicy and playfully bold, never with teeth. What?
It's a crazy text.
What are you insinuating? Like, is that a joke? Yeah. I was blown away reading it. I really was blown away, and honestly, weirded out. We're dealing with a weird on our hands because
fans quickly took to online forums, sparking heated debates that showed just how divided public opinion had become. Some felt deceived, convinced that Blake had misled her audience, while others defended her, suggesting that her lawyer's departure could have been influenced by personal bias or unseen agendas. For Justin Baldoni, however, the turn of events was an unexpected vindication. What had begun as his heartfelt vision for a deeply emotional film had been dragged into a whirlwind of accusations, forcing him to respond by releasing private messages to set the record straight. By the time Blake's attorney stepped down, Justin no longer had to fight alone. Her own counsel had inadvertently undermined the credibility of her claims. In a later interview, he reflected that the guidance of the women in his life, paired with his willingness to listen and learn, had been key to navigating the storm. His core message was simple but profound: true growth comes from embracing vulnerability and the ability to reflect. The lawyer's dramatic exit also intensified scrutiny within the industry. As investigators and journalists dug deeper into Blake's allegations, inconsistencies began to emerge. Formerly silent cast and crew members started sharing accounts suggesting that ordinary production challenges had been selectively framed, exaggerated, or presented in ways that didn't match reality. Slowly, a new picture formed, one that led many to question whether the narrative Blake had promoted was less about truth and more about control.
Reynolds was so, I think he would say, I was standing up for my wife who'd been sexualized by this guy and so on, but what role did he have in all of this?
Well, arguably, for the first time at the premiere, you find out that Blake Lively tells people that all of a sudden he wrote a scene in the movie. I mean, shocking everybody, shocking Sony, shocking the production staff. It's the first time they're hearing it. And, Justin handles that really, really well and doesn't want to say she's a liar, or doesn't want to say that's inappropriate, or doesn't want to say that's part of someone else's job. And he treats her very well about that. But what Ryan Reynolds, has seen.
A production assistant later recalled that Blake insisted on reshooting a scene multiple times, framing it at the time as a purely creative decision. Yet, just days later, she described that same moment in interviews as evidence that the production lacked proper emotional support protocols. The inconsistency raised eyebrows and fueled speculation about how events were being portrayed publicly versus what actually happened on set. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni's position began to shift in the court of public opinion. As more details surfaced, he increasingly appeared as the unfairly targeted party, a perception only reinforced by Blake's former lawyer. Through their resignation and candid comments, the attorney seemed to unintentionally bolster Justin's credibility, signaling to the industry that Blake's claims might not be entirely reliable. The situation has evolved into one of Hollywood's most intricate dramas, layered with legal disputes, personal tensions, and the sharp decline of a star once celebrated for her effortless charm. Depositions, potential claims, and ongoing scrutiny ensure the feud between Blake and Justin shows no signs of slowing. Yet perhaps the most damaging blow to Blake's credibility came not from Justin, but from her own former lawyer, whose departure sent a clear message to the public: her story may not be as solid as it first appeared. For Blake, the stakes are immense. Continuing her claims risks facing not just Justin's defenses, but also the lingering doubts cast by her legal team's exit. Stepping back quietly, on the other hand, could leave an unresolved cloud over her career for years. Justin, in contrast, seems to be slowly regaining the upper hand. With new projects underway, he has managed to redirect some of the narrative in his favor, while the public continues to dissect the messages and confessions he has shared. One of the most striking developments came in the form of a 7-minute voice memo Justin recorded during filming. Sent at 2 a.m., he admitted he worried about waking Blake but felt he couldn't remain silent. He suggested they speak over FaceTime or meet in person soon, even joking about their shared habit of leaving long-winded messages. Throughout the recording, Justin expressed genuine remorse, acknowledging he had let Blake down, praising her dedication to the project, and showing gratitude for her willingness to communicate openly. The memo was layered with apology and vulnerability, presenting a side of Justin that sharply contrasted with the aggressive image Blake had portrayed to the public. Instead of an overbearing figure, the recording depicted him as careful, considerate, and deferential, painting a picture that further widened the gap between her claims and the emerging evidence.
Say all of it did not generate with this PR team. I mean, since I've been involved in this case, I've gotten 50 either texts or emails or over, things to my firm's website, more than 50 actually, about this was my experience with Blake Lively. We weren't allowed to talk to her on the set. We weren't allowed to ask for an autograph. We were, instructed, this way or that. We were treated.
Justin didn't mince words or try to soften the situation. He openly acknowledged his mistakes, admitting that he is far from perfect, something even his wife would likely attest to. He conceded that he had said the wrong things, made missteps, and unintentionally upset people along the way. Yet, he emphasized that no matter the circumstances, he would always own up, apologize, and strive to make things right. He expressed genuine regret over how events unfolded and made a firm vow to do better moving forward. When discussing Blake's inner circle, Justin was equally candid, offering nothing but admiration. He praised them as incredible, supportive individuals and highlighted Blake's remarkable creative energy. He specifically noted the dynamic synergy between her and two other highly influential figures, rumored to be Taylor Swift and Ryan Reynolds, emphasizing just how impressive the three were together. What set Justin apart in his approach was his willingness to take full responsibility without diminishing Blake's contributions. Even though, as the director, he was under no obligation to adopt her script suggestions, he still acknowledged her input and offered a sincere apology for any hurt he may have caused. This level of accountability, combined with genuine respect for Blake and her team, contrasted sharply with the public image that had been presented earlier, further complicating the narrative surrounding their professional and personal interactions.
And I'm really sorry. I f***ed up. That is a fail on my part. One thing you should know about me is I will admit and apologize when I fail. I am far from perfect. I am a very flawed man, as my wife will attest. And and I'm going to f*** up. I'm going to say the wrong thing. I'm going to put my foot in my mouth. I'm going to probably, but I will always apologize and find my way back to center. That is one.
But that's when observers began to notice something unusual. Throughout the voice message, Justin kept returning to the topic of his on-screen chemistry with Blake, almost as if reminding himself to remain composed while expressing genuine enthusiasm. He was careful to stay respectful, yet his excitement about their collaboration was unmistakable. At one point, he even remarked, "It's really good, and it's going to make the movie sing. Like you said, I'm excited to go through the whole movie with you." The comment revealed a mix of professionalism and admiration, an acknowledgement of Blake's talent and the dynamic energy they brought to the project together. It was a moment that stood out, hinting at a working relationship far more collaborative and positive than the controversy suggested.